Right, so we are underway. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this evening's meeting of BPC's Planning and Environment Committee, being held tonight on the 5th of May 2026. I don't have anything particular to say apart from let's get on with it. Do we have any apologies? The domestic arrangements, of course, are normal. We should switch our telephones off, please, and if you do wish to speak, then, as usual, make yourself known, hold your hand up, and we'll do it in that way. Thank you very much. In which case, Richard, apologies for absence.
Does Councillor Harris for approved reasons?
I propose that we accept that as an apology. Seconded, please, David, all in favour? That's unanimous. And we wish Jeremy well, he's unwell. Item 3, any declarations of interest, notifications of change to members' interests. As usual, there is none. Item 4, the approval of the minutes of the Planning and Environment Committee held last on the 7th of April. Somehow it seems longer ago than that.
Does.
Doesn't it? Is it? It's not just me, is it? It does seem stagey. Yeah, are we content that these are an accurate record and that we accept them and approve them? I propose that we do. Seconded, please, Marie, all in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 5, Richard, Clerk's report, please.
Nothing further to report.
Very good. Moving swiftly on. Public session for the benefit of the stream. There are no members of the public present tonight. Which brings us to item 7, which is to consider the planning applications. There are 2 on the agenda, printed agenda, and there are 2 further. Everybody seen the additions? Yeah. Thanks for those, Richard. We got those out pretty sharpish this morning, didn't we? Before the finish. So we'll get to those very shortly. But the first one is CA 260051. So this is in the conservation area, and it seeks the surgery to 1 eucalyptus and 1 ash at High Seat, 1 High Street of Billingshurst. This is the very top of the High Street, up by the hill and roundabout. So, surgery to 2 trees, a eucalyptus and an ash at that address. Surgery. Anything to say about it?
Not really, no. Not really.
Yeah. Okay. In which case, I propose that we don't object to the surgery. Yeah. Seconded, please, Kate. All in favour of no objection? That's unanimous, thank you. Which brings us to 20C 260651, which is the prior notification for the change of use of Class E space to form 4 apartments to the rear of ground and first floor only at what was once Barclays Bank at 84 High Street, Billingshurst. So we now have a prior notification for change of use to form 4 apartments to the rear of ground and first floor only. Now we all know that there was a permission submitted to put 6 flats in studio apartments, which we did actually approve and were in favour of. However, for various reasons that had been expressed in this one, HDC decided to object to it, and it was on spurious reasons, and we thought flood risk and so on and so on. However, it hasn't deterred somebody putting in a change of use and a reduced form to form 4 apartments. However, it must be noted that this is only concerned with the rear ground floor and the upper floor of the building, and that the retail unit, which forms the frontage of this building, is excluded from this application, which may well have quite a significant impact on our discussions. On the face of it, I mean, the layout and the access and so on seems, well, imaginative. At least each has their own front door by some means or other. Some shared accesses from outside, but only one. So everybody has their own front door. Some are for two people, two are for two people, one and two are for one person. But clearly the amount of accommodation offered this time would appear to be greater than it was before. So, taking the application on merit, and we'll come back to the retail thing maybe. What do we think so far?
Well,
Kate?
we need something to happen to it before it deteriorates further, without doubt. But it just seems to a bit peculiar that it only covers half the building. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not sure.
I guess it depends what's going to happen at the end, doesn't it? And whether somebody's trying to get part of it done, therefore the rest of it will follow at some point, which would be quite logical. And I think it looks nice. It's small, but needed.
Thank you.
Do we think that their reasoning for splitting it is because just by doing the rear half will help them with the reasons that it was projected?
I mean, actually, if I recall correctly, the density, which we thought was marginal, with 6, was not part of the refusal.
Was there
It
a
was
fish
flood,
flooding?
and it was this thing about the men's arboreal spread of non-existent trees. It happens to be within this arboreal area called men's. And I looked it up, and it's a massive swathe across the land, but there are patches of desert in amongst all this, which is built upon, and this is part of that. It's nowhere near any arboreal significance as far as I could see. So that was one of the parts of the objection. The other was it was in a floodplain. Now, the application seems to have addressed at least the flood issue quite significantly, does it not? And presents evidence which claims that it's not going to be a problem at all for either runoff, because there's going to be no more concreting, if you like, to make it even more of a runoff. They talk about the underwater sewage difficulties which have occurred down there, this so-called barrel drain and so on. They've addressed that and seem to have dismissed that as well, or addressed it satisfactorily. So as far as the residential provision goes, it seems pretty good.
Okay, I've got a few points. So firstly, I'm a bit like you. I don't really understand why it's only half of the property. Maybe they've sold part. I don't know. Anyway.
Could I offer a speculation? Because I mean, having had a little experience of this somewhere in the past, I think it's all about economy. It's just about money. They don't want to spend money on a retail unit because it's speculative. It's not going to be let. It's not haven't got an occupant. It will cost money for no return. Whereas the residential part is all return. I mean, that's simply a conjecture. I understand, but sorry to talk over you, David, but the exclusion of this as part of the application leaves the facade of the Barclays Bank unaddressed. Now that's the eyesore, is it not?
It is, yes.
Yeah, so if I was a developer, I would probably rent the front part because there's nothing much to be done there. Whereas at the back there, it's 4 units, it's 4 homes, which would cost quite a fair bit of money if you compare the 2 options. Anyway, that's for the applicant. But the flats have got kitchens and bathrooms without windows. And I know it's not a regulation. I do think that because of why, what they're trying to do, they're squeezing in the sort of the deepest, darkest part of the property, the part that actually need the most ventilation. So you think, how on earth are you going to go through the floors upwards to get your ventilation in from bathrooms and kitchens from the first floor? God knows. To me, it's a little bit ill thought out. And secondly, if the Horsham Council objected because of the flood reasons, this is the rear part of the property which is actually lower than the rest of the property. If there's one bit that's going to get flooded, it's that part. So there's no more data and more information about the flooding. The flooding is the same. It's the same plan. And if you look at it, in fact, the flooding is worse as you go down, obviously, towards the back of the high street. So I don't know what we should do here, because I agree with you. The use of the building is not there, so it's really silly. There's plenty, I suppose, of people who'd be interested in renting the front part. Well, there's demand. Building First is a passing, commercial sort of bit. So I'm not in favour of the layout and what the proposed units are at the back.
Okay, thanks, David. Great.
I agree with your comments. However, I don't think that we have any grounds to object on planning terms. And hopefully by then developing the rear, that could lead to the development of the front.
Okay, does anybody disagree with that view?
No, I don't. I agree with her. I agree with what you said.
Okay, the only residual point I'll come back to is what I've just skated over, is that if the retail part is not part of this development, then what remains is still A, deteriorating building, B, a security risk, C, a fire risk. We've had kids on the roof, we've had people breaking into it, we've had goodness knows what in there. Now, people are going to live here now as well. Now, okay, that might be a deterrent in itself, but people might not, the vandals may not target it as they had. But, that's in the lap of God. But residually, the frontage against the high street, we still have an absolute eyesore, which will remain exactly as it is, as far as I can see.
Have we got any information? I did read it, I haven't picked it up, on what they're going to do behind it. Because at the moment, a lot of locals park there, but driving down between, it's very, very narrow between the wall and the two walls. And it's quite tight at the back and it's very overgrown. So it would need to know, because there's like a yard at the back of that, and then there's the sort of car parking bit.
Well, the plan shows 12 parking spaces as available to this plot.
Yes.
6 of which are going to be attached to the 4 flats, so far as I can read it. So that gives 1.5, if you like, each flat. So 2 permanent spaces and 2 visitor spaces, leaving 6. It does say in the application in favour of the retail unit.
Right. Oh, right.
I mean, does anybody else?
That's good.
I think it's a bit of a dilemma, this one, to be honest. It could be so routine and it could be so, yes, it's brilliant, let's have it done and give 4 people, 6, 8 people somewhere very convenient to live in Billingshurst, but they're going to be living behind a derelict building which will remain that way.
Yes.
Another thing about the planning rules, and of course the ventilation is not a planning rule, although as an architect I would really advise them to really redesign this. We do have views, we have opinions, and we can judge projects and proposals not on planning terms, because that's going to be a Horsham's job in a way. So our message is, yes, great. Can you develop and advance the project a little bit further so that we are really fully happy with this?
Well, I mean, that may be, some might see that as a fudge. the others may see it as a sensible compromise, that we make some kind of recommendation that if we were to fully approve this, or not object fully, we would see the retail unit being included in part of this scheme to be also at least cosmetically improved.
Does it have to be retail, that bit? I mean, can they change it to?
Yes.
Well, it could be
Yes,
to residential as well. I
Yes,
suppose.
yes. Or medical, I mean, this,
Perhaps that could be stage two.
They could be anything.
it could be a lot of things. It's a big space, it's a good old space. Workshop, could be.
But to leave it
Empty, is
empty, if we have no objection to this and say, just go ahead and do it, I do think we have to be mindful of what we are leaving for the rest.
Yeah. And the neighbours are, it's,
And aesthetically for this itself, if we could easily be criticised for saying, well, they've allowed some flats in the back and the eyesore remains. And it gets worse and
so
worse
they
and
got
worse.
their money, basically.
So they got their money.
money.
We've supported the developer and we've
They're not
done
gonna go
nothing to
further.
improve the
Yeah.
aesthetics of the village.
It's not their concerns.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a problem.
All in all, it could be routine, but I honestly don't believe it is.
So we do have a message to say. We do have something to
Yeah.
say.
Now, we have to decide in how we're going to deliver that. Now, we can either say we have no objection, but, or we can say we do object until that is included and the cosmetics are improved.
As the front of the building is not part of the application, you can't object to the front of the building in response to this.
So we have to be, yes.
So you've got
yes.
to focus purely on the rear half that is being applied for.
But the implications, if we were to support it and not object, would be all of what we've just said and agreed.
tricky.
Which makes it, on balance, something which we're obviously going to need to vote on. But I would say, my recommendation would be that I've had no objection, we have no alternative but to object and give the reasons why.
Sorry, Chair, just to confirm what, under the planning guidance, would we be objecting to regarding the rear half?
That it's an incomplete project, that we'd have to spell it out, I think, that, we feel that the people who would be offered this accommodation would be living in or around or behind a derelict building which has no prospect at the moment of being improved or changed. And that this scheme that does nothing to improve the aesthetics of the taste.
I think you're right here. I think if it was two properties, you couldn't ask the neighbours to have a look at their own derelict building, but because it's the same property ownership, you can't just evade the question of what's going to happen to the rest.
Keep going, Richard. Where are you at with this?
My mind
Is racing?
Yes, I'm trying to put it into planning framework.
Marie.
So we're talking about planning regs and what can we object to under a planning reg, but is there anything under conservation? Because they're effectively building in conservation area, but they're not doing the conservation piece to the front of the building.
Fair point.
It is all one building. I realise that we have a planning application for the rear of the building. The whole building is in a conservation area. So are there any regs under conservation?
Well, are you then hoping that we can impose upon this developer the need to do something with the retail?
But I don't know. I don't know enough. I haven't been here long enough to know what surrounds that conservation area.
Has anybody got a mind to make a proposal?
I don't have a proposal, but I have one other comment. I feel like this is, so it was rejected once before. This is the second time I've come back. We're also keen to see the site develop, so we don't want to come across too negative in terms of the regeneration of the site.
So you're suggesting a neutral with a caveat for the conservation?
All that remains is a comment. It does nothing to show the people of Billingshurst that we're doing our very best to rid it of an eyesore.
The final word would be with caution, right? That's planning rules, that tick box,
Yeah.
they will pass it. If we think that this is a strong application, they will pass it through. So we will say, oh, well, it's a bit too late now, we didn't say anything. So our only role here is to do what AGC cannot do. And they are governed by the planning regs. We have a view on this. We're just the citizens and people living around it, and we have a view and an opinion. We don't think that this is advanced enough to please the community, and that's the issue.
Yeah.
So it's not on the planning too. It's
No.
just that the project is not advanced to the stage that we can actually say, well, yes, we support it. So we have to object to it. I don't know. It's hard, but it's
We have to object to it and give some extremely stern reasons as to why we're doing it. I hear what you say, Fred, this is the second time I'm asking. It may be something of a surprise. It was to me that someone's decided to come back and have another go.
Yeah, I was pleased.
Yeah.
To see it again.
Because I thought that was going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
But, is our loyalty or is our responsibility rather to the developers of this application or the potential 8 residents who might benefit from it, or is it to the benefit of the greater picture in Billingshurst? Because that's what it comes down to.
So if we phrase this in a way that doesn't quite fit with building regs, this is what you're talking about. We're saying what we think, because we're not, because that's really our job as being here as locals. So phrasing it as, whereas we are in favour of development of this site, however, we have concerns about the aesthetics and the fact it's a conservation area, and sort of phrase it like that. So,
I mean, it's tempting. I mean, I've never really faced this prospect before so far. We object or we don't object. Is there a middle ground? You talk about neutral.
Yes.
We could remain neutral and give no comment as to whether we object or we support it.
You can still attach a comment.
But that's a fudge. No.
yeah, but as Parish said, we want to be positive and say, actually, we want something to happen here.
We do.
However, these circumstances do not meet with our perception of what the community needs
Right.
and wants.
Meaning, okay, I mean,
Yes.
I think you've got it in a, that's it, that's encapsulated.
Don't
Very
ask them to
well.
repeat it.
Don't lose that.
No, it's
Hold
good.
on to that thought,
Could we use the word concern?
because we're going to need that in a minute.
But I think what you said just a minute ago, I think the fact that it's just not sort of a road building on the side of this is a conservation area. So we need something of a high quality, unfortunately,
Yes.
for the developer, for the owner, than the rest of the village.
I think we'll take a vote. I think will be the best way. But in the meantime, am I right in trying to encapsulate it? We are saying that we feel we have no alternative but to object, because the aesthetics of the building will remain, and the security and the fire hazard and the potential for vandalism remains. However, we do not wish to deter any developer or any future application from providing alternative accommodation here. But it has to be a holistic application.
And putting that into conservation area as well.
Yeah, I think that needs
Yeah,
to
we
come
need
up.
to mention
Yeah.
that.
Yes,
High
basically
quality
we are suggesting that we object on that basis.
Mm.
Okay. Do we need to take a vote, or can I make that as a proposal?
Happy with that.
Okay. Are we okay with this, Richard? That we'll give you verbatim,
Yes.
because I think you need
Well, we
it.
don't need to get sacked, but because of what we've written.
Right. So that was the proposal, basically. Seconder, please, Maureen. And let's have the basis for the objection, which began with the fact that it is a conservation area. and that nothing in this application goes to address the aesthetics and the, can't call it an eyesore, but we'll think of a better way of describing it.
You can also mention,
Inappropriate for a conservation.
yeah, well, it's incomplete.
Hmm?
It's an incomplete report.
Incomplete, yeah. Now, Anna, what was your
Oh, God.
latest
What was that?
thinking?
Nothing to the benefit of the community.
Community.
Yeah, so give it, Richard needs to get this completely right.
What did I say? Can we say that we feel that we do have a responsibility to local residents, and that
And the
this
responsibility-
doesn't, the responsibility to, and for the aesthetics of the building, that's sort of.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to broaden it and say that this is because we are looking at this to be a final improvement and a riddance of something which has blighted the conservation area in the High Street for nearly 10 years.
Mm.
So we can pile it on thick and fast. And I do think people need to see that we have taken that view and why.
Mhm.
It's going to upset the developer, of course, and it will, at the moment, if they take our objection and support that, then it will deny 8 people of accommodation.
Yes, but again, in planning terms, they might just well get it, and then we would have done our job.
I agree with that. So that, I suppose I needed a seconder on that, please, the whole thing. Kate. Have we got one?
Yes, Marie did.
Okay, oh, yes, we did, forgive me. So let's just run that back, if you can, Richard, let's make sure we've got this right.
Yeah, so we've got the fact that it's not benefiting the community needs. The front of the building raises concerns, and repeat myself there, that the front of the building is in the conservation area. We have the impact upon new residents and the potential for vandalism should it be worked upon at the rear but around the front. It doesn't address the aesthetics of the conservation area and the responsibility to rejoin handlers and responsibility to, again, to the residents of the area.
Something more about the undesirability of an empty building attached to where you live. Planned to be that way. It doesn't just evolve that way.
Anything about the feeling that the planning application is incomplete, doesn't consider that.
Yes, and we could we could then expand the objection by saying, had the retail unit been included in this application, no objection would have been raised.
That makes sense.
Ends on a positive then.
Yeah. Everybody happy with that?
Yes.
Jolly good. Right.
It's a tricky one.
Yes,
It was,
it's a tricky
I had a feeling it was going to be.
Yeah.
Moving on to the additional planning applications, which we will be glad to hear. The first of which is a revisit 260137, which sought, I say deliberately, to fell one oak at 40 Broomfield Drive, Billingshurst, hastening to add that this is not the same oak trees or any of the oak trees that are currently a matter of controversy elsewhere. But these wished to fell one oak, and on the website this morning, the HDC portal, it said that this has been decided on the 30th of April.
Yes, if I may, Chair, I spoke with the agricultural officer at HDC last week because the committee here objected in March as there was not sufficient information. They have given these photos now of what is quite a dead oak tree. And he did ask us if our objection would still hold with this evidence.
That is well dead, isn't
Yes. Yes.
But they've given their consent already.
I think he came up against his deadline, yes, since we issued the agenda,
So whether or not we.
so it's more a case of
No,
would we have objected?
Yeah.
I don't think we would.
I think you're right, Richard, our comment to this will be that had this information been available to us at the original application, we would have had no objection.
That's your proposal.
That's my proposal. Seconded, please. Marie, all in favour of that? Which leaves 260698, which is surgery to 3 oak trees. What's up with the oak trees lately? At 25 Nightingale.
Oh, we have this lovely picture.
That's my daughter. Yeah, she did a plan of our garden. That's my daughter's drawing.
That is
Beautiful.
Yeah, what a
Beautiful.
True, 1, 2, 3, lovely. Anyway, all they do is seek to surge these 3 oaks, so in our normal way, do we have any
Yeah,
objections?
no objection.
So I propose we have no objection, secondly, please, and all in favour of no objection, meaning hearing the application. Lovely. And moving on to item 8, to consider any licensing applications.
There are no licensing applications in this parish. Some of you may have been copied into correspondence about one in a neighbouring parish, but that has been dealt with by Scrutinising.
Okay.
I think 1 or 2 of you were copied into some emails, but we've got
There's been lots of
opinion.
emails.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is within Rudgwick, which they are, within Slinford, which they are doing.
Okay, fair enough. So none for us.
No.
Item 9 is to consider any nominations for street naming. Not yet.
Given the amount of buildings,
We haven't. Not yet. No. Well, other than ever lengthening years. A lot of people may well be satisfied with the future which Burnishurst offers in terms of street naming at least, with its increasing density. Item 10 is to note reports as 3 appendices. Richard, kind of take us through these.
not a lot on Appendix A, which is the decisions. There is one, where is it? DC 260286, to which this committee objected in March. It was subsequently refused by HDC. That was the demolition of the existing garage and the erection of a detached dwelling on Dorks Avenue, just up towards the TPO tree line.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which you won't be surprised to hear that the proposed development by reasoning of siting scale or missing detached dwelling from the blah 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 result in cramped and contrived form of development that fails to respect the established pattern.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we saw that one.
Yeah, we objected and the application was refused. Yeah, fantastic. Otherwise, it was harmony.
Yes.
Which is always pleasing to
Which,
see.
just on where you've got, for example, the alleged unauthorised change of use from shop to hot food takeaway and gym goods.
Oh, sorry, hang on.
Oh, we've not got to that bit yet.
No.
Sorry,
That was
sorry,
appendix A.
sorry.
In that case, let me just get appendix B out of the way.
Where's appendix? Was she, oh,
It's on the back of another one.
oh, sorry.
You made him staple back to front.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's on the back of,
Oh, yeah.
you've got C and D together.
Yeah.
The back.
Oh, we're doing that. There have been a few new appeals, very early stages. They haven't even got appeal numbers yet. And there's going to be an additional one for Kingfisher Farm on West Chiltington Lane. Which will be
okay,
that's
yeah.
the 10.
Kingfisher Farm being the park.
Yes, that's the application for 10 pitches. So
10 new pitches, 10 more pitches there.
yes,
This is on the West Chill New Road.
yeah. So Kingfisher is the yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And then finally, yes,
So
appendix.
tell me any idea how many pitches there are? No, right.
And then appendix C for the enforcement. Sorry, what was your question, Councillor?
So what, some of these are from quite some time ago. Do they provide any update with what's going on with those?
Only if I chase them.
Yes.
Just because, like, say, you just take, not to choosing that one in particular, but obviously they're still operating and.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. I picked up 2023, this mountain stud thing, you know, installation of gates and stuff. That's 3 years ago. If they've done it, have they been told to take them down or have they been
You'd
approved?
think, you'd expect there to be some form of,
It should have fallen off the wagon by now, shouldn't it? And the previous one.
well, the fact that the business is still operating would make you think that perhaps there isn't a breach there.
I think they are quite short-staffed at the moment in enforcement for catching up with these things, but the ones I have queried in the past have been with their legal teams and they are taking a while to go through. The one you had in question there for James Mead, that's more a case of them approving it. It's very difficult to prove if somebody's offering takeaway or not, or actually acting as a takeaway rather than just a lead-in premises.
True. Yeah, I mean, if you have a meal and you sit down and you say, well, doggy bag the rest, please, is that a takeaway? Yes, interesting. And, yeah, that was the only thing I thought I'd want to see was the longevity of someone.
Yes.
And on the first, I think this must be appendix A, the one where we're talking about enforcement notices. Duckmore Farm, land out, Duckmore Farm. They just go ahead and do it. Anyway. Right, Richard. Is that all three appendices?
It is, that's all.
Great. Right. Thank you for that very much. Date of the next meeting is set for the 2nd of June, unless we have any need for an emergency or an urgent meeting in the meantime. And in the meantime, thank you very much indeed. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Tomorrow evening. Another fun-filled
Busy week.
meeting.